Hello and welcome to another episode of The Art of Confident Driving. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you're all excited. We have the lovely Sonia from Sonia's Driver Training with us today. I'm really excited. Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you, Liz, and I'm really excited to be here too.
Excellent. So you have been driver training for quite a while.
Yeah, just on 10 years now.
Lovely. And what have you figured out along the way that you really want to pass on to the people here?
I've figured out that a lot of parents need a little bit of help when they're supervising their learner drivers.
Yep.
And I'd like to pass on some wisdom from when I was a parent supervisor before I became a professional trainer.
Yeah, absolutely. We get so caught up in, our job, but then we're like, oh, we're parents as well.
Absolutely, we are. And not all trainers have been parents with their own kids either. So, speaking from experience, I think, and I say this to a lot of parents as well, I've been where you are. I know exactly what you're feeling. I know how scared you are.
Yeah.
I went through the stage of taking my learner drivers on the M1 for the first time, hanging onto the Jesus bar on the bottom of the seat and saying, oh my God. And my kids saying, hang on, Mum, it's okay, it's okay. It's not okay being out of control of your car for the very first time with a very inexperienced driver. So I get that. So what I've been getting is a little bit of feedback from learner drivers who have been out with mum and dad and now they're with me. And the little things that they tell me and the little things that I've observed, I think we can have a chat about some of those and see if we can help parents be better supervisors.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not a natural thing for most parents to be driver trainers. They're not. But, to put on the teacher cap, that can be a hard ask because, and I call it the blood factor. When you're in a car with somebody in your family, it's so easy to fall into the same habits when you're walking around the house. You go pick that up and you can, get a bit cranky
Absolutely.
with them. But in the car, that's a whole different animal, isn't it? We've got to really take a step back and say, well, look, we can't get upset because if we get upset, the student gets upset.
Absolutely. And on the kids' behalf too, on the learner drivers, parents are the kids' safe zone. They have a hectic day at school. They come home and let everything out on mum or dad because they're safe. And in the car, we can't have that kind of relationship. It's got to be, I'm here to supervise your driving.
Yeah.
You're here to make sure you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
And look, the majority of learner drivers are great with their parents, but I have heard from parents where the learners chat back, don't want to do what the parent is directing them to do
Yeah.
or explaining what is correct to do.
Yeah.
They know everything, of course, these learner drivers, don't they?
Of course.
And they're the parents, I think, that then reach out to us professionals and say, look, they're not listening to me. Can you explain what it is they're supposed to be doing?
Yes. Yeah, they need backup. Poor things. I can't blame them.
Absolutely.
And that's the point. We go to school to learn, ABCs and maths and everything else. Why not do that in a car? Get the proper professional advice and education to know how to control the vehicle and not just, roll around the streets as best we can.
Yes, and the scary thing is too, I've met some parents who have actually contacted me knowing what they've done was wrong.
Yeah.
And they've said, look, little Johnny or little Sally, we've only been driving to and from school for their whole 100 hours.
Yeah.
And now they want to book their driving test. That's scary, isn't it, Liz? Because
yeah.
that is not real world experience
No.
that we expect them to have after 100 hours.
No. And that's the point. Like getting those hours up is lovely, but doing it with the same routes over and over is such a pointless exercise. Like do it for the first 10 or even 20 hours. That's wonderful. Get the confidence up to say, I can drive from here to here and I feel really good about it. But then continuing on with that course only is not going to make your life better as a driver. In fact, it's going to make it a lot harder because the moment you go outside of that route that you've taken for the 100 hours, you're going to feel so lost and so scared
Absolutely.
because you haven't been exposed to experience that are different. you haven't been exposed to experiences that are different when you're driving. Not every road is going to be the same.
Absolutely. And not all traffic is the same. Not all drivers are the same.
Exactly.
You could live in a busy part of the Gold Coast. You might live in Burleigh.
Yeah.
And then you need to drive maybe out to the mountains or something. Totally different set of driving.
Big time.
Because mountain roads, we've got our confident, whiz through the corners type drivers, or we've got our slow putt along ones.
Yeah.
And learning how to be patient and not feel the urge to overtake in dangerous situations is another important lesson to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you pointed out, the difference between very busy city driving and the calmer country driving, but it might be calmer, but it's faster.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and I've had lots of students who they will get their hours up big time on the motorway. And as I say to them, driving fast and straight is not a challenge.
No, it's not.
So, and I'm sure you do it as well. The first thing you do with a new student, you'll take them into the back streets and just get them to do corners.
Absolutely. They need to learn how to control the car before you take them at any speed at all. I've explained to them when we're driving, if you move the steering wheel just a little bit too hard when you're doing 100 kilometers an hour,
Yep.
we're going to end up in the other lane that we don't want to be in.
Yeah.
So learning really good control, managing the accelerator to go through all those turns and corners, roundabouts, even just simple lane changing at lower speeds is all what they need to learn long before they go on the motorway. I remember hearing horror stories. Remember we used to have to go in and do the written test at TMR?
Yeah.
The parents would take them in, they'd pass their test, get their learners. Come on, we're going on the motorway.
Exactly.
I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I was horrified.
Yeah.
And I believe it's still happening today.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely happening, and worse still, it's happening with some instructors.
Oh.
Yeah, not all instructors are built the same, my friends. You lovely listeners, please, we really want you to understand that, and this is why I've got Sonia here, and that's why I've had John on the program, and I've got a few other instructors. I find quality instructors to talk to. I've seen their work. I've had their students in my car, and I'm like, they know what they're talking about. They actually teach. You do get, unfortunately, some instructors who will say, I'm pretty bored, let's just go for a drive on the motorway to get the confidence up.
Yeah.
And then all you're doing is scaring that student. And that can, unfortunately, also be the same with the parents.
Yes.
They're like, oh, let's just go to the shops and back. But the shops and back could be, including some multi-lane roundabouts.
And parking. How do you park then? Exactly. I have heard of parents so quickly swapping seats and doing the parking when they get to the shops. But look, the best way to approach it for our parent supervisors is do everything step by step. That's how we do it as professionals. And if you learn to do that as well, you're going to save yourself a bit of money as well if you can get your learners started with some really good basic driving. And then gradually, as they need to learn something a bit more that you're not ready to teach them, pass them over to us. We'll get them ready for you, hand them back, then you can practice. It's not all about saying, oh, this school has told me we need to get 20 lessons. Have you asked them what they're going to be teaching for that 20 lessons? That, it's a package. When you get a good driving instructor, always test them out first with one lesson.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're compatible with each other. You might find an instructor that your learner driver doesn't like, your child doesn't get along with.
Yeah.
And then if you've bought a package, you're stuck with that one instructor. It's really, really tough to try and get a refund out of a big school.
Yes.
I know from experience, I've taken on people who had a package with another school.
Yep.
They just couldn't bear the thought of going out with that instructor again.
Yeah.
But then they were stuck because they couldn't get a refund. And one of them cheekily actually asked me if I could just give them the lessons that they'd already paid for to the other
From
school
the other driving school
without them paying me.
Oh my Lord.
Sorry, no, it doesn't work that way.
No, my friends, no, it doesn't. But you've made a brilliant point, and that's the thing. People are looking for packages. I get so many calls saying, "What's your package?" And I'm like, well, actually, I don't do them because as Miss Sonia's just pointed out to all of us lovely listeners, if we don't like that instructor, I'm stuck with them for another 9 hours.
And we might not like the learner too,
exactly,
Liz.
Exactly. It's rare I get them anymore, but I used to have the odd stroppy, teenager who just wouldn't listen and dug their heels in, and I'm like, I'm not enjoying this either.
Yeah.
So, it is a holistic thing where it's not just I'm sitting in the car and I'm driving. We've got to learn. And when you're at school, you really learn well from the teachers who A, care, but B, give you the really good information.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want as instructors to help our students, but it also helps the parents, doesn't it?
It does. And we like to have a good relationship with the parents as well. Whether, if they're busy, they can't come to the door when we go to pick up their learner, just SMSing or an email or a quick phone call.
Yeah.
We like to communicate so that we can let them know what we've done.
Yeah.
Where we want them to be going for their homework,
Yep.
because I give my kids homework that I teach.
Yep.
I say, okay, your homework this week is remembering your shoulder checks every time you're turning left or changing lanes and merging, or it might be something that they can't keep their hands correctly when they're driving, like they keep dropping a hand into their lap.
Yep.
Or hang on to the top of the steering wheel with the right hand, little things like that. That'll be their homework. When I see you next, I want to make sure you're keeping your hands on the wheel while you're driving, that you're always in control.
Yeah.
And having a good relationship with parents is really important so that we get that followed through.
Yep.
Because they're wasting their money if we've taught that lesson and then they don't go and practice it, and we've got to teach it again at the next lesson.
Yeah. That's what I say to the parents. I say, you don't want to use me for practice. You want to use me for education.
Yes.
Right? As you say, it's wasting money. If I just come in and have to teach the same thing over and over, then, come on, guys. That could be done with a parent.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly what the parents are for, isn't it, really? And parents, trust me, I know doing the same thing over and over is very repetitive, and it can be boring, but that's part of our job, and we've kind of got to, just knuckle down and do it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when they get confident in those back streets, then we can have a bit more fun in the busier streets.
Yeah, and I love taking them out on the adventures.
Yeah.
As soon as they prove to me, like I say to them at the beginning of a lesson, okay, if we can fine-tune this one thing today that we're refreshing from last time, we're going to go to this place. And they go, oh, so they work really hard at doing it. So that reward of going to somewhere different as well.
Yeah.
And parents, you can do that too.
Yep.
Explain to your learner that if they can master that left turn where they keep going really wide, or they're bumping out the curb because they're tucking in too tight, if they can master that, then tell them as a reward, we're going to go to this particular place.
Exactly.
And it might be somewhere they've been wanting to drive. It might be to school. It might be to a friend's place or a grandma's place, wherever it might be that they think they want to drive to. That's going to be their reward at the end of the day.
Exactly. So I picked up one of my students the other day from school, and he's test ready. His test is coming up next week. So he's all excited. And I said to him, look, mate, I said, I'm just really curious. Have you ever been through a car wash before? And he looked at me and his eyes bugged open. He said, no, that'd be awesome. So that's what we did on that lesson, because I have taught him well. He has practiced well, but that's just showing you how those little extra things can make a big difference to a learner's journey. Now he's done the drive-through. He's, had to put the car in neutral and handbrake off and all those fun things, which he'd never done before. And now he'll be confident when he gets in his own car to go to that he'll be confident to go to the car wash.
That's awesome. I've actually done that with a student as well.
Yeah.
And the drive-through, like, ask them, do you like coffee or would you like a sundae or something?
Yeah.
Especially when they're that close, or even on test day coming home.
Yeah.
If they haven't done it previously, like, well, let's go through a drive-through.
Uh-huh.
I always try to make sure, if I've had them long enough, though, that we cover all those things.
Yep.
Even little things like going through the boom gates at the shopping centres.
Yep.
Many years ago, there was a bit of a fatal accident at a boom gate at, I think it was Pacific Fair.
Yeah.
And I never realised how important it was to make sure that everyone knows how to approach those things safely.
Yeah.
So parents, demonstrate by example. If you're going to the drive-through and you've stopped the car because you need to pay or show your rewards card, pop the car into park and put the handbrake on.
Exactly.
Show your kids that it's important when you're leaning out of the window to do something,
Secure the car,
just as you would if you're parking in a driveway or a car park or something.
Exactly.
Because those little slips can happen all too easily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I can still remember well before I was an instructor. So this is, back in the 1800s. I was in a drive-through, and the kid behind me, he just literally rolled into me. I mean, it did no damage because I had a big old beast at the time. His little car had a tiny
But he hadn't secured the car.
But no, he hadn't secured the car, and he was busy talking to his friends, and he wasn't concentrating.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, again, as Miss Sonia says, please secure the vehicle And that way there's no pressure on you guys to go, I've got to do this and this and this all at the same time.
And that's another thing that I'd like to bring up too as a parent, supervising. When you first get in the car with a brand new driver, which a lot of parents like to do, because the learner gets embarrassed about calling on an instructor for their first lesson. Have you had that?
Yes, I have.
They get really embarrassed. They say, oh no, I want to know how to drive the car before I go for a lesson.
Yep.
Like, okay, that is my job, but if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But parents can be a little bit overwhelming, and they want their kids to do everything at once.
Yes.
Check your mirrors, do your indicating, do your shoulder checking.
Yeah.
Look out, little Johnny, you've got to brake, you've got to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And it's really overwhelming. You know, as professionals, when we get them from the start, we do things step by step.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
introduce each function of the car and then the steering. And it's not a matter of us sitting on the side of the road, you know, drawing pictures and going through the road rule book, which I know some do. They should already know that. They've passed their prepel. We expect them to know their road rules, and it's a good way to keep reminding them as we start driving. But parents, please just tell them it's not important for indicating and checking everything. You should be doing that sitting next to them.
Yes.
Not the indicating, but helping them check.
Yeah.
Always make sure they've got full control of the vehicle.
Yes. 100%.
I've seen so many just lose control because they've approached a roundabout, but you know the parent might be sitting there. I don't know if they are because I'm not a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
But from what it looked like on the outside, the parents screaming at them to slow down, do this, indicate, check here, and the poor kids just totally lost it and stalled it in the middle of the roundabout.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very important. One, please don't take them through big roundabouts before they're
No.
experienced as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
But if it's inevitable, if that's something that you've already started doing, just let them do things step by step and make sure they've got control of the vehicle before taking them into traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That and you know, I could say word for word exactly what you just said with many examples. You can see them. They're getting panicky because there's just too much going on. So as Sonia says, one step at a time, guys. So indicate early, and that way that job's done. Brake early. Again, that job's done. Now we can start to think about how do I need to approach this roundabout. But as Sonia said, even before the roundabout, how about we get our backstreet corners correct?
Yep.
Because they are the basis for all pretty much all things to do with driving, aren't they?
Yes.
A backstreet corner. So this is how myself and most other really good quality instructors, we can tell if we've got a good driver on our hands or somebody who needs a lot more work is by just taking them and doing left and right turns at our backstreet corners.
Yeah.
Because we get, well, think about it, we get our braking, indicating, positioning, accelerating, giving way. It's all there in one neat little package. And of course, steering, which so many people get wrong.
Do you use the safe curbs, Liz, when you take someone out for the first time?
Oh, I have them here, but so what Sonia's talking about, my friend listeners, up here in Queensland, we've got a lot of soft curbs, so they're not the very sharp 90-degree angle ones, which I was trained to do in Sydney, so I'm kind of used to them. They're not a big drama for me, but I must say it does make it nice and easy, just on the off chance that a student will nick the curb a little bit.
Yeah, I find it's good too. And the other important thing that I'd like to get across too, and I did do this as a parent to a degree, let them make little mistakes.
Yeah. Yep.
And don't like yell at them and say, stop, you idiot, you're about to hit the curb.
Yeah.
If you're in those nice safe areas where you do have those what I call safe curbs, let the wheel touch the curb, because then they've got that muscle memory of, oh, that's where the wheels are.
Exactly.
All right, so we can only do it in safe areas, and a lot of kids that come out with me, they're very surprised because I can sense they're approaching a turn or a roundabout a little bit quickly, but I don't intervene unless I absolutely have to if it's too fast.
Yeah.
If it's just too fast for the situation, but I think they might be able to manage it.
Yeah.
And we're professionals, so we've been doing this a long time, and we can pretty much tell. I let them go a little bit fast because they go, whoop.
Yep.
And I'm like, you won't do that again, will you? You'll slow down for the next one. And sure enough, they do.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly on their case and saying, slow down, do this, do that, they're not going to learn to remember to do it by themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to expect you to intervene. And the other thing too is from very, very early on, parents, let your learner driver start thinking for themselves.
Please.
don't tell them when it's safe to go. You might be sitting somewhere at an intersection or a roundabout once they're ready for that, and you might be sitting there thinking, oh, crikey, we're here for a bit long, and you want to tell little Johnny, go, 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 but please don't.
Yeah.
Explain to them as you're approaching, I want you to check, and you just say when you think it's safe to go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
And if little Johnny approaches and there's already a car that's in the roundabout, like only, 5 meters away, and they'll go, now? And you go, no.
Exactly.
All right, but let them think for themselves, because, remember the old keys to drive that we used to do, and that was all a big part of that. But I did that before I even knew about keys to drive with my kids.
Yes.
Let them think for themselves. Funny story. Don't know if we've got time for this.
Of course we do.
But I've got twin girls. They're 29 now, and they're the reason I became an instructor, because I loved supervising them.
Yeah.
We had lots of huge adventures once I got brave and let them drive a little bit further away than our little round estate streets.
Yeah.
Anyway, one day one of them said to me, Mum, I want to drive to Robina. We lived in Highland Park at the back of Nerang. And I said, great. And she said, but I don't want you to tell me which way to go.
Ooh.
I'm like, okay, this isn't what we mean by think for yourself. By the way, we can use navigation. But she wanted to do it all by herself. So I said, great. So I've sat in the car next to her and we've headed off. And anyway, we get to certain streets and she said, do I go this way or do I go that way? I said, you wanted to find your own way. So she said, okay, we'll go this way. We ended up at Australia Fair.
Okay then.
But it was fun. And the other thing they like to do as well, and it's another really cool thing to practice with your learner, is all about the speed of the car. And you've talked about this, I'm sure, in your previous podcast.
Yeah.
Not looking at the speedo.
Oh,
I can
goodness,
always tell when a learner driver checks their speedo,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden we're not in our lane properly.
That's right. Yeah.
So getting them used to how the pressure feels with their feet.
Yeah.
And the speed going of the car,
Yep.
the sound of the car, whatever it might be, whether it's a visual aid, like counting 3 seconds gap behind a car,
Yep.
look at an obstacle, whether it's a tree or a post, how fast are we going past it?
Yep.
And then muscle memory will kick in pretty quick with that too.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than a kid that just keeps looking at the speedo. When I first started teaching, I had one in particular who was so bad at always staring at the speedo. And I was a newbie. I didn't really know much better anyway, but I covered it up with a piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had to do that on occasion. I really have, because that's the thing that I'm reminding them. I count and I say, you've just looked down for 3 seconds. How far have we travelled in that time
Scary.
when something could have been in front of your vehicle and you're looking down, you wouldn't see it. So, yeah, that you've got to get them out of that habit. I say all the time, it's millisecond glances, guys.
Yeah.
It's not a big, long stare and waiting for the
like a blink.
needle to change or the dial to change. Yeah, it's scary,
It's
isn't
like
it?
they do stare at it sometimes, expecting it to do a little
Yeah.
fancy dance for them or something. I don't know.
Oh goodness, that's a good one. I'll have to remember that. Yeah, there's no little dancing man there. Let's keep our eyes up.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Look, thank you so much for coming in today, Miss Sonia. We really appreciate it. We're looking forward to having you back, we hope.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'd love to.
Excellent. Cool. So we will definitely be seeing Miss Sonia again soon. Everybody, you know the drill. All of my lessons, well, almost all, I've got about 4 or 5 to go. All of the basic lessons, all the way up to motorway driving, is available on the subscription podcast. So you can get that either on Apple or, of course, my website. I'm also going to provide a link to Miss Sonia, although she, like me, we're both busy enough, so we don't need a lot of extra work. But hey, if you're in the local area, give us a hey, and we'll give you a hello, and maybe we can help you out as well. But thank you once again, Miss Sonia.
Thank you, Miss Liz.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
That was so